This will probably go for about an hour or so. But what we're doing here tonight. So the artwork session that we're doing here tonight is called Much More Music into Media. So what we're talking about is for musicians and filmmakers making music videos. And we found the perfect person from within our community who's an expert in both fronts. He's a musician, very talented musician, also very talented filmmaker, knows a lot about a lot of things. Everyone, please give a nice warm welcome to Nick Bohle.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody for being here. I do want to echo the mention of the Indigenous lands we're on. And if you want to learn without having to read, you could go watch The Secret History of the Wild West on Tubi, the APTN streaming network. There's a bunch of really cool episodes about Indigenous culture and the myths and the history that exists. So if you're more of a TV watcher, you can go check that out. I am actually in episode 2 of season 1, so you can go and see me on TV if you'd like. But yeah, so today I'm going to talk about music videos, a little bit about me. I'm the owner of Hat Chat Productions here in Lethbridge. We are a multimedia production company. We do films, music videos, commercials, documentaries, and a bunch of stuff, commercials, all that stuff too. And the work that we do with music videos is pretty near and dear to my heart because I grew up, like Steve said, as a musician. I went to school at the Art Institute in Vancouver for sound engineering, and then I came back and went to school for acting, and now I'm a professional actor and the owner of a production company here in Lethbridge. And doing this work is so fulfilling for me. My mission is to heal through the stories I live and tell. And so I try to make music videos and productions that affect people's subconscious mind and make people more aware and more compassionate and more empathetic towards each other so that we can behave a little bit kinder towards each other in this world. Because it's not always easy out there, as some of you may have learned over the many years we've been here. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to start off with a little bit of a breakdown of what we're going to talk about today. And then we'll just kind of work our way through it piece by piece. I'm going to go kind of chronologically through the music video production process. And if you're not a musician and you know musicians, and this is like interesting information, send them my way. I got cards up here you can come and check out, take them away and give them to your friends, and maybe we can make a music video together. So Steve, if you want to share the screen. Just 1 second while we get our screen up here. And it's okay if we don't, but might just be helpful for people to read along. By the way, thanks to Theoretically Brewing and Visano Pizza for hosting us. Let's give them a round of applause. I'm a big fan of the seltzer and the ciders that they make, but I know their beers are really good too. Hey, there we go. Oh, having that same problem, hey? Okay, well, I can just go ahead. It's not a big deal if I'm sharing this part. If you can get it, that's good. All right, there we go. Or not. Anyways, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about our order of the evening, and hopefully that gives you some context for all the things we're going to talk about today. So the first thing you're going to do when you meet a musician is you're going to have a discovery meeting where you get to learn about them, their project, what their hopes and dreams are for this music video. Then I'm going to talk about the 5 main approaches to music videos. Then we're going to go into how to develop a concept with a musician. We're going to talk about screenwriting that concept into an actual script so that you can budget and you can do all the things necessary to get ready to be at set. Then we're going to talk about contracts a little bit, again, budgeting. We'll talk a little bit about pre-production, some of my tips. I have a checklist that you guys are going to be able to leave with if you're so interested, and Steve's going to follow up with some emails if you're interested in that. We're going to talk about food and why, and this is something that I mentioned in my masterclass on YouTube. I say, and this is a common flaw of many productions, but a lot of places will buy like an order of Domino's pizza for their crew and just write off, oh, we got all the food taken care of. But most people need more than just pizza on set. And their pizza is amazing though, right? This pizza is incredible. And the other thing is they have a, yeah, yeah, they deserve it. And they also have a truck, like a catering truck that can actually come to set if you were to bring them. And that's a lot different than just ordering from Domino's or something. So we talk about food. We're going to talk about post-production, some editing tips, some tricks, what you should be doing, what you should look out for. And we're going to talk about one thing that most musicians struggle a lot with, which is the release strategy. Because I'm sure you might know that there's a lot of musicians in your life who have made a music video and then it's on YouTube and it has like 300 views in the last 2 years. And you're like, what's going on here? Why isn't it taking off? So there's a release strategy that we can talk about. Then we're going to talk a little bit about marketing. We're going to talk about collecting royalties for artists. We can talk a little bit about shooting with an iPhone because the iPhones are getting pretty powerful out there nowadays. We're going to talk a little bit about taxes, and then I'm going to give you a bunch of resources that you can leave with that are going to help you out. So my first question is, who is a musician here, or who is close to musicians and is here for this particular talk? Annie, I don't know your name, but you're here. Welcome. Okay, we got a couple. We have some people hopefully streaming with us online. This is streaming live. So if you're like, hey, you should tune in, send a message to your friends. But we can just get into it so that we don't belabor the point too much. So the first thing is a discovery meeting. Does anybody here own or run a business or have any need to have a discovery call with anyone? Kelty, of course, Steve. Okay. So a discovery call is essentially a time when you get to sit down with your artist. You get to learn about the artist. Maybe you haven't met them yet, or maybe you have, but it's a chance for you to understand what they are, what they're about, what their themes are, what the tone of their music is, which song you're going to want to produce with them. And you're going to get to learn a little bit about the budget that they have available for the actual project. I really recommend that you talk about budget early on, because the longer it gets into the process, the more uncomfortable that conversation becomes. So I highly recommend getting the budget discussion, at least a general window for what they're hoping to be able to spend on this, discussed in this discovery meeting. So you meet with them either on Zoom or in person is really nice because you can actually like connect a little bit better. You break down the actual song, you listen to the song with them, and you get to learn a little bit more about their dream vision, some references that they might have for the music video, and just get a strong idea of what it is they hope to accomplish. And then in this meeting and moving forward, you can discuss the 5 main approaches to music videos. So those are, I'm just going to do this real quick and switch my screen. Oh, there's another pizza going around. Okay, here we go. So the first one that most people are pretty familiar with is a narrative music video. These are music videos that tell a story. They're following a narrative. Usually there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, a rising action similar to a film. It's kind of like a little mini movie, right? And these ones are something that I gravitate towards because I'm an actor and a director. I love the narrative journey. One of our recent music videos for Cody Hall, who you might know and have heard of in town, has been nominated for quite a few awards. It's won a couple awards, and it's a narrative music video. We tell the story of how Cody met his wife in a bar and scared away a handsome man and whisked her away to go watch fireworks at his farm. It's very endearing. It's very touching. And narrative music videos are a lot of fun because you get to like follow the story. It's just something that's a little, it's fulfilling by the time it's over. Then another one that's really common, most people know these two, are performance music videos. This is where you actually get to see the musicians performing. You get to watch them, their instruments. You get to see how they perform. You get to see their attitude, their clothing. You get to see how they integrate and flow together as a band. And these are often hybridized with like some type of conceptual music video or a narrative music video. The next one is a conceptual music video. These ones are a little bit less direct. So they don't have a particular clear meaning all the time. They'll usually explore a theme or some type of tonal idea. Maybe there's a lot of visual like spectacle in the music video. But oftentimes these are also really nicely blended with performance music videos. And sometimes they're hybridized with narrative music videos. You can kind of combine all 5 of these main videos into any kind of combination that you want. And usually when you combine things, it makes for a little bit more interest, which is nice. Another one that you might have seen, and Glass Animals does a really good job of this, but lyric music videos. So these are primarily just nice typography on screen. And you get to see the actual lyrics as the song is going on. And oftentimes they're very visually pleasing so that they can keep you invested because it's just essentially a really fancy karaoke video. But again, they pair really nicely with performance music videos, conceptual music videos. Sometimes they're just a blend and they move back and forth between any one of these approaches. But a nice addition. Sometimes it's nice to even just have the chorus as a lyric section. But again, you can hybridize any one of these. And then the next one, which you might remember from the Gorillas, is the animated music video. So they do a lot of these. They've made them famous over the years. And these are really fun. We did one with another local artist named Javier Escuela, where we had a counselor who was a cartoon counseling Javier through a counseling session. And our buddy Jerry Morrison did all these beautiful graphics and cartoon elements. And it really elevated the music video. So you can combine, you could just do cartoon, or you could do like fully animated graphic novel style, or you could hybridize any one of these. That also works. So in that discovery meeting, you're going to talk about which one of these 5 approaches you want to take. And it's really important to get an idea of this so that when you move into your concept development phase, you know what it is that you have to focus on. You're going to know some of the tools that you're going to need. You're going to know some people from your crew who might be vital for this production. Like if you are using animation, you need an animator. But if you don't have an animation music video, obviously you don't. Maybe you're going to need a couple of good camera operators to do a performance music video. So getting this discussion done early is super important for continuing on into the next phase. So we've had our discovery meeting. We've established the approach that we want to make, and we're comfortable moving forward with the idea. So now it's time to move into the concept development phase. This is where you get to actually start to write down ideas. What I like to do is I give the artist, like a Google Drive, Google Docs sheet that they can write on. And in point form, I ask them to listen to the song. And then based on our conversation about what our approach is and what our references are, have them write in point form just images that come to mind throughout the process of the song. So listen to the song over and over again. I usually end up listening to it like 15 to 20 times and just writing in point form the different visual elements and scenes and just a really broad stroke idea of what this music video, hey Gabe, of what this music video is going to look like. I'll also do this and again, just get out a Google Docs form in point form, write out all the different visual elements that are coming to mind. And again, listen to it over and over again. What I like to do is I'll write the point form, like the idea, the visual idea, and then underneath of it, I'll include the lyric section that I feel like it matches with. I will, let's see, where do I have this? Oh, I have it here. Just one sec, I'll just get it up. Okay, so This is the idea journal, which actually ended up kind of turning into our script for Cody Hall's Firecracker music video. And as you can see here, I have the scene headers. So this is a little bit more refined than you would actually need. Essentially, you would just have the point forms here in the idea journal, but I've elaborated on this a little bit. So you say a top-down drone shot of an old truck driving through town, and then gentle radio chatter, because there's no lyrics at this time. And I will show you what that actually looks like. Zoom, we're just juggling Zoom here, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I just said we have a top-down shot of a truck with gentle radio chatter. Steve, I'm just gonna play this real quick. There's no audio. Still no audio. Nothing coming through.
Yeah, you're out.
Okay, well, that's not working very well. But essentially, you can see here that it starts with a top-down shot of a truck. We don't have any audio right now. Sorry about that. And then we move into the hand of a passenger. The hand from the passenger side turns the volume dial up on the radio. And we will go back to that. It changed a little bit from the actual version, but it does come up here. There's Cody's hand on the steering wheel. And then the hand from the passenger side comes over. So this, essentially what I'm trying to get at is that this template that you write, this idea journal, ends up being a really strong skeleton for you to follow as you build the rest of your music video. Idea journal. There we go. So you want to write down, again, in point form, how you see things happening, and then associate it with the lyrics or moments that are happening additionally in the sound and audio side of things in the music video. You can see here in verse 3 that we do have lyrics. So it's close up on Cody singing. See that girl over there? And then a medium shot of a beautiful girl standing or sitting at a bar, sitting lonely at the bar. So you just break it down visually and then include the lyrics that you're using for each piece there. And as you do this, you'll probably evolve your ideas over time, but this is just, again, a broad stroke approach. And then after you've done this and the band has done this, you can meet again and have a second meeting where you talk about the visual ideas that you've both come up with, and you're able to see where there's similarities and parallels, and you're able to see if there's completely different ideas that you hadn't thought of, and start to kind of mold your ideas together or choose to go in the other person's direction. Maybe you like their idea better, they like your idea better, but it's a good opportunity for you to start to visualize things and get the ball rolling, because it's a long process. It doesn't just happen real quick. Sometimes, like for a performance music video, I've had people be like, I just want a video of me walking down the street singing to the song. And that's the whole thing, right? And that's fine, because we like watching musicians sing and exist in their world. But if you're doing narrative or conceptual stuff, you want to really break down each scene, each chorus, each verse into visual elements that you're going to use throughout. All right. Without belaboring that point too much, we'll move on to the rest of this. Okay, so after we've met with the band, we'll talk about all of our ideas. We'll come to a final decision on how we want to go, like officially how we want to do this. And then you usually have to go away and write a more rectified document that's going to be closer to the screenplay, but it is the agreed upon structure of the music video. But we haven't done any screenwriting yet. So after you get your concept fully like confirmed, you can move into the screenwriting process. And it does look very, like for my music video ideas, it looks very similar to the idea journal that I shared. I know I'm juggling here, pardon me. But we want to make sure that we are articulating, again, the visual elements with the lyrical elements and tying them together. What I do like to do for screenwriting is I tend to like to put my shot list or my shot number. So you can see this blue highlighted area up here. I like to put the shot, the scene number and the shot number for that scene in front of this note or this phrase here, because it just makes sure that as we're moving through the music video, we can kind of check off things as like a checklist. And then we know we have that and we can move forward. And if you see my shot lists, which look like this. There it is. Pardon me. Juggling these is tough, guys. I tell you. Here we go. So you can see here that I have a list. This is for a music video we did with Jody B out in Kelowna. I've broken down each scene, so where we're going to be shooting, if that's in the big bands there, and then what the location is, what kind of camera we're using, the description of the shot, the details about the shot. So is it a push-in shot? Are we sliding? Are we tracking? What is it that we're doing with the actual camera that we're using? And then what frame rate is on the far right side? And I really like to break this down. Like I like to choose almost to the millimeter what shot I want to articulate through this in every different moment. And then again, this allows us to associate the shot number that's on the left-hand side with the scene and our script. And then we can just be sure to be checking off each thing, because if you get on set, you might know this, Annie, it gets chaotic. Things get crazy. You get hungry, you get thirsty, you forget things. And it's really important to have some type of way to keep tracking your shots and the production throughout the day. And oftentimes you're not going to shoot this in the order of the music video. Like it's not going to be from start to finish. You're going to start shooting maybe the chorus first, because that's the location you get. And then you're going to go back to the start. And then you're going to go to the first verse. And maybe the first verse and the second verse are in the same place, but then the third verse is somewhere else. So you're not usually going to shoot this stuff chronologically. You're going to shoot it based on the availability of the locations and the schedules that you're going to be building with your team. Thank you for your patience while I juggle around on my screen here, guys. Okay, so there's a couple tools that I would recommend if you're going to do a music video that are really handy. One of them is called, do you know Studio Binder, Andy? You know, I've never heard of that. It might be helpful for you guys. Yeah. Just pull it up here. So if you've ever wondered how what a producer does on a movie or in a music video or any kind of production, I'll show you some of the back-end software that they use to make this all happen. So this is called Studio Binder. You can see I have a bunch of different projects that we've done over the years in here. But essentially what it does is it allows you to organize your entire production, your screenplay, your shot lists, your storyboards, your call sheets, your schedules, your contact list. It allows you to manage an entire production just using this software. You can also write screenplays and it'll format them for you. You don't have to do all of the formatting. So even if you're not doing a music video and you're doing a screenplay, you ever wanted to write a screenplay, you can run one project on Studio Binder for free. You don't need a membership. But if you're going to do multiple projects, then you do need the subscription, which is, I think, like $50 American a month, which is not cheap. But if you're only running one production or you're doing them rarely, you can just erase that production once you've done it and move on and start a new one. And it's really, really helpful to use. So we did a documentary for Woods Homes here in Lethbridge a while ago. They're a youth shelter here in town, and we did about a 30-minute documentary with them. And you can see in here that you have your screenplay and any notes about your screenplay at the top. So when you're generating your content, then you move down to your breakdown. This is where you take your script into the days, the different scenes that you have, and you can actually break down your budget so that you can understand all of the pieces that you're going to need throughout production. There's some other tools in here like reports, sides, or like portions of scripts that you could send to actors if there's a speaking part in your music video or your film. Then you can do things like mood boards and storyboards, which help with visualizing your idea, and it's really effective. I think if they haven't already, they're integrating AI into this too. So you can just quickly create shot lists, which used to take forever, and have a really clean idea of what you're going to do. And I showed you my shot list before. So if you don't have Studio Binder, you could just use Excel. But if you do have Studio Binder, you can go into your shot lists. Yeah, let's go to a different production here quick. We'll go to Firecracker because that's what we were talking about before. So I had my laptop out on set when we did our production for Cody Hall. And I didn't do any storyboarding because I wasn't afforded the time available. But you can see here that you can build shot lists as well. And then you can check them off once they're done. You can move through your project that way. And again, it gives you a really strong, like once you write your script, you can create your shot list and it'll associate your shot list to your screenplay. So it allows you to maintain a really clean plan of shooting and checklists and things like that make it a lot easier for you to not forget a shot. The amount of times that I have forgotten a shot and just kicked myself over and over again, I can't even right now. I would be a millionaire if if I was just getting nickels for every time I missed a shot. So a very strong tool. And then you can see down here, you can have project contacts. You can have tasks for different members of your production team. So you can really break down who's doing what, and you can keep track of if it's gotten done or not yet. You can build calendars and you can include media like reference materials for production. And this can go to every department. Like if you have a big music video or, you're running projects with multiple people, this can go to costumes. This can go to the director. This can go to actors. This can go to your props people. It can literally go to everybody in your production and just help everybody stay on the same page. And it also tracks like when they open it so that you know that they've looked at the material, which is also very handy. And then down here, which is probably the main thing you're going to want to use this for, especially when you're starting, is call sheets. And if you don't know what a call sheet is, if you ever get on like, there's this abandoned show that's coming to Calgary that everybody might have seen the casting call for. But if you end up getting a background role on one of those things, you're going to get a call sheet. And it's going to look something like this. So it's going to give you information about the whole production. It's going to tell you the weather. And it does this automatically. You don't even need to worry about it. It'll tell you what the weather is on that day when you make the call sheet. It'll tell you when sunrise is, when sunset is, and then you can give some details on your production, what's going to happen that day. You can include the locations. You can talk about the schedule, the shooting schedule for the day. All of the people that are going to be on set are included. You can say what time you want them to arrive on set. You can see that here. And who the crew is and their contact information if it's been released. Who the extras are, they all get listed here. And then attachments at the bottom for talent releases, deal memos, crew memos for anybody. You can attach all of that stuff there too. So the whole thing with Studio Binder is it just allows you to really streamline and consolidate everything so that you're like, where did that Excel sheet go? Where's that doc that I wrote? And it's just all in one place. And it's really, really handy. So I highly recommend checking out Studio Binder. It's very helpful. They are not a sponsor of this particular masterclass. But if you know anyone, and this is live streaming, so if you're listening, Studio Binder, I'll take a sponsorship for sure. I talk a lot about you. All right. And where's my breakdown? Here we go. All right, so we're back to this. Okay, so you can see here a little example of like what a script might look like. So we have let's say we're shooting in an old house in the living room and it's at night. So we have our scene header there. Depending on how complex your shoot is, you might want to put, which number of scene this is in the chronological order of your script. But then you can see there that it says 1.1, a lamp in the corner of the room bounces up and down to the beat of the kick drum. So that's our first shot. And then we go to 1.2. The outside of the drummer's left foot kicks his drum pedal. We track left through the kick drum. Then we get a seamless cut and we go to the next scene, 2.1, and we track left from behind a wall to reveal the back of a crowd of people jumping up and down and dancing while they watch their band perform. And again, this allows you to keep track of each thing, to know what scene you're shooting when. And when you're not shooting in chronological order, having these numbers and knowing what scene you're on is super important. Every second, listen, when we did Cody Hall's music video, we were on set for 18 hours. And we traveled to Stavely. So we were on set for 18 hours and then we traveled an hour back and forth. It was a 20-hour day. Everybody was exhausted. And I missed some shots, which sucked. But it turned out good. The music video turned out good. Magic happens in the editing room. But every moment counts on set. Every single second. Like, it seems menial, but every moment is important. So if you can be organized and save a couple seconds here, a couple seconds there, it's super valuable to have this stuff organized properly. And again, you can go into Studio Binder. And I'll show you that real quick because it's actually really handy. So we'll get out of here. I don't think I wrote my script in there, but where do I have one? I have one. Thanks for your patience. All right, so Deadly Canvas. This is a pilot episode, I think, for a series that we've been working on. We'll go down to this draft because it's the newest one. And so you can see in here that we have the start of a screenplay. This is a pilot. And the nice thing about this is if you look up at the top, all these icons here. So it says scene and setting, action, the character, parentheticals. So like if they're whispering or something, the actual dialogue that they're speaking. And then if there's a transition, like cut to or something like that. So the nice thing about Studio Binder, again, is that it helps you format your whole script. So again, if you're writing, even if you're not doing a music video, if you just want to write a screenplay, Studio Binder is really helpful because it'll help you really speed up your writing process. So if let's say I was, let's go here. This is laggy. Okay, so we'll go there. So now we're at this point here. We want to create a new scene header. Just click on that button and it'll add it already. It'll give us prompts for the next, is it interior, exterior? And then as we build it out, it'll say, is it evening or day? What are the different aspects of this scene? And let's say we got interior. Just for, oh, night. So you saw there that night popped up, right? And then, okay, so we're done our scene header. We'll go over to our action. Oops, wrong way. Undo. Oops, my bad. So we'll go back to that. Night. Hit enter. And then it actually goes straight over to action. You can see that it's highlighted there. You can start typing your action. Okay, and we got that. And then we'll hit enter again. And then we're going to do, we need to get our character. So this is the man. And then we're going to keep going. We don't need to have him whispering or anything right now. Oops. We're back. Pardon me. Don't forget to press enter. And then we'll go over to dialogue. And it's just formatting everything for us. Just a quick little demo, but it's nice and fast. And if you're having to go through and format all this stuff, it's just, especially 90 pages or whatever it is, it gets a lot. It gets to be a lot. So I highly recommend using this for your script writing, for helping you plan things out. It also allows you to, like, if you have a prop or something like that, you can highlight it and then it ends up going into your props list in Studio Binder. So you don't have to go through and reference all that stuff later on. But again, you're going to follow this. Oops. Oh, man. Steve, juggling this is crazy. No, it's all good. I just, it's okay. Wrong one. Here we go. So again, with your screenwriting, you just want to go through from scene to scene. You want to take the concept, the document that you wrote together, that you've agreed upon, and then you want to break down each scene into these little bite-sized visual elements. And I would recommend including any lyrical elements just underneath, usually in italics, I like to put them, so that you can know exactly for your editors later on and things like that. It's really helpful to have the lyrics there so that they know, okay, this is the moment we're trying to articulate here. So we've gone through, we've broken down our whole script. We have this really nice idea. After you've finished screenwriting it, send it to the band, send it to the musician, get them to read it, get it approved, right? And if they're like, yeah, this is amazing, this is exactly what we want, then you're like, okay, perfect. Now I can budget. So we've talked a little bit about the budget window, which should have informed the concept development of all of this. But once you have the script, then you know exactly what locations you're going to want to find. You know how many characters there are, so how many actors, You're going to get an idea of what crew you need. If it's a big crew, a small crew, if you need a huge light array, or if you just need a run and gun crew or something like that. But the script is going to give you the roadmap for building your budget. And then what I would recommend is if you're not using Studio Binder, that you first break it down based on the creative elements. So you'd break it down with your actors, your locations, any props, and those things first, just so that you know how many actors, because that's all right in the script. And then go in and start to try and, every producer has a different approach to making a music video. So it's important to, build your script so that you know kind of who the crew is that you're going to use, who you trust, what the available funds are, and then trying to match that to the crew that you build. And then you're going to go through and basically, let's say we have 4 locations. Usually you can only do 2 locations a day. And there's a company move in between there. So you'll do 4 hours at one spot, and then you'll pack up all your gear. You'll get everything out of that location, make sure that it's left better than the way that you found it. And then move to your new location, which could take, anywhere from half an hour to an hour. You could be going out of town. That's happened before. We've gone from Lethbridge shooting a comedy special in the morning to Calgary shooting a comedy special at night in the same day. So that's a 2-hour drive plus teardown plus setup. But that's going to give you an idea of how much time you're going to need, how many people you're going to need. And then you're going to have multiple days if you have 4 locations. So then you know what their day rates are, how many people you're going to need for each day. And you can really break down every piece, how long, like you're going to have actors for both days. So you need to make sure you're fairly paying them for their work. Make sure it's above minimum wage. You want to have your band also not be the bearer of paying people unfairly. So try and build your budget to suit the budget window that they have. And then you'll break it down into all of its individual elements. And then once you have that, you can send the budget based, like you're like, okay, so you love the script. Now here's the budget to get that done. And then have them look it over, check to see how much it is, and make sure that they're okay with that. If they're like, could we get like $500 shaved off? Maybe that means you have to rewrite some things. Maybe that means you have to remove an actor that might not have been as important, save a couple $100 each day that way. But it's super important to be able to get the agreement of the band so that you're all moving forward in good faith with everything. But that's the process though. Concept development, screenwriting, and then you get to do your budget. So you got your budget approved. Thank God. Do you know how amazing it is when someone's like, yes, we are willing to pay you to do art? That's really nice, right? You follow your dream and, build a career and stuff. That's pretty cool. So after you have your budget all approved, then you know how many people are going to be there, how many days you need them, how many actors you need, if you're going to need background actors and all that kind of stuff. And you can actually start to schedule things. So you'll meet again with the band and you'll see what their available dates are, how long they have to do this. Maybe they're on tour and they only have a few days, so you need to fit it in then. But you can actually go ahead and start building the schedule. And I would recommend, again, Studio Binder, which I have here again, for that, because Studio Binder is really, really helpful in breaking down budgets and breaking down your scenes into days and all that kind of stuff. It'll do a lot of it for you. I'm not going to go do a whole demo right now because that'll take forever, but it'll really help you break down things smoothly. So go ahead and, you could use an invoicing software or invoices on Google Drive or something like that, and just break down how many people are in there, how many, like if you're going to need to rent a camera, if you're going to need to rent any tools or lenses or lights, build all that stuff in and make sure that you have it accounted for and scheduled. Like when's pickup going to be for those? Who's doing the pickup? Yeah, very important. Your scheduling is, if you do a good schedule, you're going to set yourself up for success. If you do a bad schedule, you're going to have a really, really hard time on set, and you most likely are going to miss something. So scheduling is very, very important. Also, something that I've been realizing more and more lately, like scheduling your life a little bit, just as a human, very helpful. I use Google Drive, Google Schedule. It's all connected to my website so that coaching meetings and stuff like that I have are all tied in directly to my personal calendar, and I don't have to worry about double booking and things like that. So it's super helpful to have a schedule if you're a creative, especially if you're a creative person, but if you're a human being who's alive, also very helpful. So you're going to go through, you're going to do your schedule, really, get it confirmed with the band once you have an idea of what that looks like. And once you've spoken to your actors and spoken to all of the people that are going to have to be on set, you've all agreed on a time to arrive. And then you reach out to the band and be like, hey, this is when everybody can do it. This is when you can do it. How does this sound? Get another approval from them and just maintain that line of communication so that you're moving forward again in good faith. The more that people know what's going on and are like less in the dark, the more forthcoming they're going to be with their energy and their time and their focus and their belief in you. So take your time and schedule things right. This is the juice right here, guys. So I have a pre-production checklist, and you guys are going to get this. If you guys want, Steve's going to email this out to you. So don't worry too much about it now. But this is what you're going to need before you go to set. Your screenplay complete. Your shot list is complete. Any mood boards and inspirational materials should be created and available on set. I don't always do this, but it's kind of nice to have visual references for people, for your lighting guys, for your director of photography, for the costume people, and just have like somewhere in the room or on set a board of images and thoughts and themes that you want to try and follow for the production. Because like I said, every single moment counts, and the more that you can have people shorthand with you, it's going to save you time and save you money and make you a better filmmaker. The props should all be gathered and logged. So again, in Studio Binder, you can log props, but you can also put them at the bottom of your screenplay. So anytime there's a prop like a mug or a watch or anything that you're going to see on camera that's in the script, highlight it, copy it, take it to the bottom of your script, and just start a props list. And then before the day, you can check off each prop on there and make sure that it's in a box or in a suitcase or in your vehicle, and make sure that it gets to set. Because super sucks when you get to set and you don't have the Viking sword that you're supposed to have, or the cuckoo clock that's paramount to the music video about time or something. So make sure you get your props logged. The location should be locked. Here's a story. When I was in school in Vancouver at the Art Institute, we had one of our producers, our student producers, say that we had a location locked at a cafe in downtown Vancouver. And we show up thinking that this is all arranged and everything. And they're like, who are you? What are you doing here? Why do you have cameras and lights and everything? And so we called him and we were like, hey man, like you're not here, A. B, they have no idea who you are and what we're doing here. And he's like, oh yeah. Sorry. It's a different place. It's this place. And so we were like, okay. Packed up all our stuff, got back in our cars, drove through downtown Vancouver to another place, show up, start to unload, walk in. They're like, who are you? We don't know. We have no idea what you're talking about. Anyways, our actor in the music or in the short film ended up saving our butts and finding us a location in Delta, not Vancouver, but Delta, BC, which is like an hour and a half away at like 10 o'clock at night when we were supposed to be filming originally at like noon. So make sure your locations are locked. Make sure that you have a signature on a location agreement from the owner of the building and not the manager or property manager, because the owner of the building is the person who actually has the signing authority to let you in and, you know, arrange all the insurance and liability and all that stuff. Again, like props, next thing is costumes should all be gathered, treated, and cleaned. If you're renting, make sure you clean things because it's kind of gross when the costumes still smell like the last person who used them, or they're dusty or something and people are allergic to dust. So, and what treated means is like sometimes you have fake rain or something like that in your video, or digital rain, and you need your coat or your denim coat to actually look like it's wet. And so there's like glycerin that's put on it and a bunch of like paint work and all this kind of stuff that makes it actually look wet when it's not wet. So make sure that, and like, or weathering, like let's say you're doing a music video about a farmer or something, country music video. Like you want their clothes, if they're outside working in the fields, to look like they've been, you know, dirtied and worn and all that kind of stuff. So make sure your costumes are treated, cleaned, that they're all gathered by your costume designer or your costume person, and that there's a checklist for each one of those costumes that are going to be needed on set on that day. Super important. All of your equipment should be gathered and all of your batteries should be charged. All of your memory cards should be empty. Don't end up doing this stuff on set. Transferring for 20 minutes on set, that's 20 minutes you could be shooting where you just lose all of a sudden. So make sure all that stuff's done before you arrive on set. The cash should be locked. So everybody should know that they're going to be there. The way that this is guaranteed is if everybody signed a deal memo. Do you know what a deal memo is? A deal memo is essentially like a scope of work for the individual person. So there's crew deal memos and there's cast deal memos. And it'll say, well, you agree to be on this production. Here's the dates that you're on the production. Here's what your responsibilities are for this production. This is the amount that you're going to be paid for this work. It would say something like, you give us the right to use the work in our marketing and in this video. So a rights assignment and then a signature at the bottom. And if you guys need, I have these templates. So you can reach out and I can hook you up. So yeah, your cast and your crew deal memos should be signed. Everybody's going to know their job. Everybody's going to know when to be there, what tools to bring, what costumes. Sometimes your actors end up bringing pieces of their own wardrobe. Oftentimes they'll bring their own costumes. Sometimes you'll rent from a costumer or something like that. But if they're going to bring their own, have them bring 3 different versions of that costume. And also make sure that they have logged it and that they're bringing everything. Because when I was doing background, I forgot a hat one time. I forgot a scarf, you know, like it's really important that they're logging all that stuff and bringing it. And sometimes it just looks like some calls with the costume designer and like the costume designer being like, okay, do you have the coat? Put the coat on the bed. Do you have the jeans? Put the jeans on the bed. Do you have the tie? Put the tie on the bed. Just to make sure that it's confirmed by a second party. There's another thing. The director of the music video or any film should meet with the cast before you get to set. So have a video call and talk about the vision and talk about the characters and talk about the story that you're trying to tell. Or if it's a conceptual music video and it's a bunch of interesting dance stuff, have them talk about their dance style and how they like to be communicated to. Start to develop a rapport between the director and the cast so that you can arrive on set already knowing each other, not having to break through that wall, and you can actually have a shorthand because again, time is money. And if you're being like, hi, my name's John Smith, my name's Abigail Winter, and what's your favorite animal and all this kind of stuff, and trying to build that on set, you're just wasting more time. So do that stuff before. The call sheets should be sent before you arrive to production, ideally no less than 24 hours before. But if you're on multi-day shoots, oftentimes your producer or your assistant producer isn't going to get to this until after the day is done shooting. And we know that we're getting 12 hours break between when we stop and when we start again. And so make sure that you have your call sheets out as soon as possible, ideally with a good amount of advance notice so that people can read them, understand them, ask questions, and make sure that they have everything, the locations, they know what their travel time is, and that's not a surprise to them like 5 hours before they're supposed to be there. The schedule for each day should be broken down and clearly outlined in the call sheet. So you want to make sure that you're not, because in Studio Binder, you don't have to build a schedule, but you absolutely want to build a schedule because it also allows you to know how much time you're giving to each scene, what the setup and teardown times are between scenes, and it just allows you to really understand how much time you actually have available. The budget should be completed. Don't get to set before the budget is done. It should be approved and completed well before you arrive on set. In the call sheet, there's a place for hospitals. You would be surprised how many people have injured themselves. One of my friends, who you may know, Charlie Christensen, cut his thumb one time on set, and then he got a staph infection because he didn't get it clean because he just kept working, didn't go to the hospital, and he almost lost his thumb, which is not good for a grip tech who does lighting and rigging. So hospitals are communicated. It's really easy in Studio Binder. All you have to do is go in and start typing the name of the hospital, and it'll find it for you, and all the addresses and everything are right there. But there's a section in there for hospitals. Don't skimp on hospitals. The scope of work agreement, cast and crew deal memos, and any non-disclosure agreements and rights agreements should all be signed before you start shooting on the day. Sometimes if you have big crews or a lot of extras, you end up collecting these on the day when they arrive because they'll print them out and sign them or docu-sign them or something like that. But make sure you get those before you start shooting because you'll forget. I've forgotten multiple times. You get busy with other things. And if it's not signed, then you're running around afterwards trying to wrangle cats, you know, and that's not fun at all. So get all of those agreements signed. Again, if you need these agreements, I have templates so I can hook you up. 50% of the production budget should be paid to the producer before you shoot. This is common in a lot of like media production stuff, but I would recommend if you're any type of freelance person that once the project is agreed upon and approved, go ahead and get 50% of that budget so that you can get rentals. You can have some confidence in their buy-in to the project. You know, they're not going to back out if they've already fronted a couple grand or something like that. So definitely get 50% of your budget up front before you go to set. And be strict about this. Like if they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to, then it's like, okay, well, we won't go to set then. Because I don't have confidence that you're fully bought into this. Artists, whoa, that was loud. Sorry, guys. Artists should have the opportunity to approve or discuss any last minute developments. So before, like maybe a couple days before you're going to go to set, send them a script one more time or have them review the script one more time and be like, is there anything that you guys can think of that's popped up since we've talked about costumes, since we've listened to the song 1,000 times, since we've got this particular actor who looks like Jeremy Allen White? Like, what do we want? Has anything changed? Are we going to want to add a new scene or another shot that we haven't thought of? But sometimes these ideas are good because people have had time to really digest things, and you want to give yourself time to adjust the schedule and make sure that you're articulating those things properly before you get to set. And then finally, crafties. So your food, your meals for the day should all be planned and should all be gathered before you go to set. This is where my comment on don't just stinge out and buy Domino's pizza and just leave it on a table somewhere. Make sure you're getting food that people are not allergic to. So ask for their allergies in their call sheet. Make sure that they, aren't going to die if you have peanuts on set or something like that. And again, cheap options like, these guys are great. Their pizza is amazing, but Domino's or like fast food from McDonald's or like some cheap skip the dishes thing, it just really demonstrates to the cast on a subconscious level that you don't value them the same way that you would if you really cared about what they were eating and wanted them to be satisfied and healthy so that their energy's up and so that they feel good all day. Because as I said before, Cody Hall's was an 18-hour day. Thankfully, we had a kitchen on set that was just making food, all kinds of different food the whole time. So really important to have everybody fed and have water and snacks, tea, coffee, have that stuff available, fruits, little snacks they can walk away with. One of the most famous things on sets, like even big sets, like The Last of Us and things that I've been on, they have those Welch's gummies. Welch's gummies. Have you ever had those? Now you do. You're going to have them now. Yeah, but they, Crafties on set is crazy because it's like a little 7-Eleven almost. They have like everything under the sun. And then there's a catering truck that'll make like a really nice chicken masala or a bunch of different stuff throughout the day. And it's hot and it's ready and it's not cardboard pizza that's been sitting on a table for 2.5 hours or whatever. Okay. So that's your pre-production checklist. Again, you're going to get that from Steve as afterwards, after we're done here. But I'd highly recommend you follow that and add to it if you need over time. But that's definitely been the key points that I would recommend. So now we're into production. We've got all of that stuff. We made sure our pre-production checklist is complete. And now we can move to actually shooting this thing. We get to be filmmakers now. The magic of the film set. So in the production phase, this is where you're actually going to, follow your schedule that you've built and move through making a film. I could talk about this forever, but there's a few tips that I'd like to share. One, give yourself a lot more time than you think you need for each piece, because inevitably someone's going to be looking for cables, a battery's going to die, you're going to need to restart your monitors. Stuff just happens. Somebody needs to run to the bathroom. Give yourself more time than you need because you're going to run out of it. I promise. The other thing is, if you don't know what seamless cuts are, do you know what seamless cuts are? So when like the camera's, it's like moving along with the actor, it goes behind a tree, and then it's a new scene after it comes past the tree. So this is something you really want to consider, especially like narrative music videos, sometimes conceptual music videos, and even performance music videos. You could like I said earlier, move past a drum set and then you're in front of the band all of a sudden or something. But you want to consider these on the day. You can do them later if you're lucky and you find someone crossing camera or something. But I highly recommend that you consider the room that you walk into, because usually after you do a location scout, and you're like, yeah, I want to film at this bar. You're going to show up there and it's going to be nighttime because that's when you actually decided you want to shoot. And you're like, wow, this bar that I visited in the day looks completely different at night. There's no light from the window. There's none of, or maybe you're trying to make it seem like night but you need to shoot for 8 hours. So it's going to be day inevitably at some point, and you need to mask off windows, block out the sun, and build your own lighting. So give yourself time to investigate the space once you arrive on the day, because you can't guarantee that your location knowledge is going to be thorough enough before you arrive. And oftentimes people will be like, yeah, I put the piano in the corner because I thought you guys needed it out of the way. And it's like, no, the piano was exactly what we wanted right there. So then they have to move it back. So give yourself time in production and build in those seamless transitions, because those things, they really elevate your production, because they show planning and consideration for the story that you're telling. It just really looks sharp. Another thing that I would recommend, do you guys have comms? Like in your communication? Yeah. So if you're ever running a production, in your communication will speed up your day by like 10% or more. It's super valuable to have. There's some pretty inexpensive options out there. But we were recently shooting an MMA event, and having those comms allowed us to communicate between our switcher and our other camera operators. So we could be like, I have a good shot, switch to this camera. And if you're running back and forth, being like, where's Rick? And he's like 50 meters away somewhere. You have to run to go talk to him, then run back. You're just wasting time. So having a good comm set on your set is really, really helpful. Make sure also that you come to set with a really good attitude. It sucks when you work with a director that's crotchy and hates you and doesn't want to be there. Be enthusiastic. Like, this is a fun time. It's a chance for you to be artistic and creative. There's usually, most people are super stoked to be on a film set, music video set. They're excited. It's a fun time. But make sure you're eating, you're keeping your energy up, you're staying elevated and inspired and enthusiastic about the production, because as soon as that starts to fizzle away, things get long and hard, and it's not fun. So be sure to do that. And then I guess my last point on production is when you're on set and you have all of these people in all these different roles running around, having to go to the bathroom, all these different things are happening. People are going to get food because they're hungry. People have been dancing for 4 hours and their feet hurt, so they need to sit down. Just be respectful and understanding of people, because I know as a director and a producer myself, I'm often like really focused on getting the shot, and I'm not as focused on how everybody else is doing all the time, which is why it's really good to have production assistants who are helping people get water, guiding people to the bathroom, or being like, go out this door if you're going to have a smoke, because you're going to change the light in the room if you go out the main door, whatever it is. But just be mindful and considerate of the process of making a film, because it's just going to make the whole day a lot more fluid, and it's going to build respect with the people that you're working with, which is just going to increase the buy-in and their willingness to work with you. So we've done production. We're moving on to editing. I'm going to try and keep things going here pretty quick, because I want to not belabor this too long and give Gabe a chance to get up here and play some music. So what program do you use for editing? That's my girl. It's great. I know. Yeah. Yeah. So I use DaVinci as well. You can see this camera right here is a Blackmagic 6K. The program actually comes with that. If you're familiar with Premiere Pro, it's a subscription-based program. DaVinci Resolve is a one-time payment. It's like $400. You have it forever, and it's got almost everything, if not everything, that Premiere does, but you don't have to pay a subscription. It's very powerful. It's way stronger for color grading and things like that. And you're using Blackmagic with your ATEM right now, your switcher. So it pairs well with other software and things like that too, especially if you're doing multicam productions and whatnot. You can use a switcher on a music video and record all of the channels, but be like moving between the cameras so that you can get an idea of what it looks like, or you could be recording, you could actually record your edit if you're doing a performance video, right? Yeah, so if you feed all the cameras into the switcher, then you can just have a more of a live experience. So if you're doing a live music video performance with really nice cameras, you can actually record the edit that you're doing with the switcher like right in there, right? And you can color grade. You can boost your levels and everything in there too. So yeah, I use DaVinci, really strong program. A couple tips. Most music video creators who are starting out are going to end up cutting on the beat all the time, which ends up getting very dry. So make sure that you're considering other things like the movement of your actors to motivate cuts. Don't just rely on the beat to be your guide. Use things like like the location and the space, movement within the space to create different cuts. And a general rule of thumb is to cut on movement so that you can move between different takes or different cameras and you maintain the fluidity of the scene and it doesn't seem jarring. Because as soon as you're moving from a static shot to another static shot, it starts to get really choppy. But if you cut on movement, then it kind of blends the two edits together and it doesn't seem like there's even an edit there sometimes. Another thing that young music video creators do is they'll use a lot of overlays and like light leaks and fancy effects to make their music video look cool. And sometimes effects, especially if they're well curated and thought of, are great. And some conceptual music videos are like really edit focused music videos and really do well with some of those. But if you're leaning on them and using them as a crutch to make your video look cool because you're not able to as much, it starts to look really amateur. So I would recommend not going too heavy on those unless you're very deliberate about how those are affecting your visual journey in your story. The other thing too, and I see so many videos and films out there, I'm kind of a color snob. I like my color grading. So make sure you're coloring your music video and you're coloring a picture. If you're shooting in a raw format, it's so flat. Do you shoot raw? Yeah. So it's so flat. It just looks like washed out. There's no color. It almost looks like black and white and just like a really faded black and white. So it's super important to understand and learn color grading, even if you're just using simple LUTs and things like that. So Lumetri lookup tables, I think they're called. And putting like just a simple filter on it, it's going to elevate your production a lot if you can at least bring it out of that raw state and turn it into something that's digestible for your eyes rather than just like a wall of faded grayness. So please color your music videos. Tired of watching uncolored videos. Tired of them. Sorry, that's my rant for today. Let me see. What else do I have here? Right. This is a music video. So editing a music video is a lot different than editing a film. While there might be some crossover in techniques, it should be musical in nature, right? And that it requires you to be listening and really invested in the music journey. So listening to the various instruments independently so that they can motivate different edits, different movement that you're going to be focused on, different articulations of picture. Maybe, you know, certain courses are really driven, but certain other times it's a verse that's really driven and the course becomes more languid and open. And sometimes it's really nice to cut on the beat during those drive spots because it pushes the picture forward and creates a lot of dynamics. But sometimes in the course, you want it to be flowy. And that requires you to listen to the flowing elements in the music and then tailor the shots to that. So again, this goes back to production a little bit, but if you're listening to the song and when you're writing your script and visualizing things, Let's say there's like a really nice melody line with a violin. You might want to build into the script some type of fluid element that matches that violin line, right? Maybe that looks like we've filmed aerial dancers on silks one time for a music video. And they had these beautiful silks and a giant triangle. And this girl was dancing essentially 20 feet above our head in ribbons and silk. And that paired really nicely with the bridge of the music video that we did. And so it's really, really nice when you can match fluid elements to fluid moments in the music or staccato elements to sharper edits. So really pay attention to the music, like really get into the song, essentially. Listen to it all kinds of different ways. Listen to it in the shower, listen to it in the car, listen to it all over the place. Which kind of brings me to another point. So you're going to get your edit. You're going to, do your best to get a strong edit completed. Then you're going to have a rough or what they call an assembly cut. Once you have that cut, send it to the artist and be like, how is this so far? What do you think? Is there anything that I missed? Do you like this so far? Keep in mind, it's not completely done. We also haven't fully color graded it yet. We haven't added everything, but do you like this rough version so far? Once they do like the rough version, you can move forward with coloring it and refining it more, adding those final elements. And then before you send it to them again, watch it on your laptop, watch it on your phone, watch it on a bad TV, watch it on literally any screen you can find, your old monitor, everywhere. Send it to friends to ask them to watch it on their different devices. Because what you're going to notice is that the screen you have is much different than many other screens. And you have to find kind of a happy medium between your monitor and what other people are going to see. Right. So, and oftentimes this takes a few different revisions where you're actually going to go in and, change your gamma, play with some colors a little bit. Oftentimes reds and yellows and like deep purples will really blow out on older screens. So you want to make sure that you're considering that. And your render is also going to affect compression, which is going to, change some of the colors. So make sure that you're watching it on all kinds of different screens. That was a big hack for me when I was first starting out. It's like, why does this look so bad on YouTube? And I was like, oh, I didn't watch it on my TV upstairs. That's like 720p. Yeah, so watch it on a bunch of different devices. Okay, now we're going to get into release strategies. Have you ever released a music video? Okay. Well, this is going to be helpful so you don't start off on the wrong foot. So you can't just make a music video. And I've seen this from a ton of colleagues in town, a lot of musicians in town. They'll make a music video. It's good. They like it. And then they're like, let's put it on YouTube right away. And then they wonder why, like I said earlier, there's 200 views after 3 years on it. And it's because it wasn't optimized, but it hasn't had any help from it hasn't had help from YouTube. It hasn't had help from a curator of some kind. So a few years ago, I stumbled upon this thing called Symphonic, which I will pull up here. Symphonic is an aggregator. Aggregators are like, so if you've ever released any music, you probably know what an aggregator is. It's where you can actually put your whole album on there and you can release it so that it goes on iTunes and Spotify and Apple Music and all of the different Tidal and Napster, all of the different release places or outlets. And there's something called Symphonic. Just one second. Pull this up. Come on. So Symphonic is an aggregator, but they help you release music and music videos across a bunch of different platforms. So you've probably seen, music videos from big artists on Vivo. It's not just YouTube, it's on Vivo. And there's a vetting process for getting your thing on Vivo. You have to have a fairly decent music video, essentially. So you would use something like Symphonic, or another one is called Ditto, Ditto. And that allows you to upload a high quality, like ProRes file. You want to make sure it's not super huge, because on smaller platforms like YouTube, it will compress it and you're going to get darker colors and squashed colors. But you want to give them a high quality ProRes file that has like a lower bit rate to it, so that it doesn't get compressed too much. And you can release it across all of the different video outlets out there rather than just doing it to YouTube. You can do Vivo, Tidal, Vimeo, YouTube, iTunes video. All of the different outlets are available to be checked off and used so that you can get your music out to more audiences, which is super important. And you'll notice, like, when we started doing this, our music videos went from, a couple thousand views total to like 80,000, 90,000 views comfortably, right? So I would recommend using an aggregator like Symphonic or Ditto, because it's going to set you up for success. And it's also going to help by those platforms pushing it out there for you, rather than you having to just grind away releasing it individually on each platform. I mean, like any aggregator or release software, there's a cost to it. See if I can find them. But you can see here's all of the different places that you can release it, right? It's quite a few. Yeah, I'm not sure on the cost of it. I can't remember exactly right now. And I think it depends on how many different video outlets you want to use, how long the video is. There's a few conditions, but fairly standardized pricing. But yeah, the more outlets you put it on, the more cost you're going to incur. But just a tip, again, they ask you to upload a ProRes file. I made the mistake of like following their instruction to a T, but not realizing that my bit rate was too high on my ProRes upload. And it ended up squashing some of the colors and some of the gamma. So things looked really dark compared to the actual edit that I did. So it's just something to be mindful of. Don't go too crazy with the file size. Kind of keep it a little bit conservative, but you can still upload a really nice quality video. Okay, we're getting further along here. So another thing is, with your release strategy, a lot of people, they'll make their music video, it's ready to go. They're like, let's release it. But if you know music aggregators, you'll know, and Steve, you might know this too, that usually once you upload something to TuneCore or Destroyed or whatever those are, there's about a 5 to 6 week window from the time you upload it until the time that it's actually available for release, so that it has time to be playlisted and curated properly and put alongside other musicians that are relative to you, and that people are going to find your music a lot more interesting next to their favorite band, rather than a totally different genre of music if you just toss it up there. So in that 5 week, 6 week window, from the time that you upload your music or music video to the time that it's actually released, that gives you time to do marketing so that you can get stills from your music video or little clips from it. You can create trailers. You can release stills for your marketing. You can announce that this video is going to be released on a certain day. You can start your pre-sale journey so that if your song and music video are releasing simultaneously, like your single and your music video, people can actually buy pre-sales to it, which helps your placement in Spotify and Apple Music move up the ranks, and it'll get you more plays. If you get more pre-sales, essentially, you're going to get a way better release once you actually get to release day. So take your time and really do some marketing, get on social, do like talking to the camera stuff, excited about our music video release coming this date. You give people hard dates. You can do contests leading up to that, giveaways. Maybe you can do like, the first 50 people to pre-sale get a free ticket to our next show, things like that. And just work with your band to be able to do that. Super important. Pre-sales are huge. I didn't know that for a long time, but you want pre-sales. The other thing too, with these aggregators, so Symphonic, you're a producer, right? Or a director or something like that. And musicians oftentimes don't have a ton of money. I don't know if you knew that. Sometimes it's really hard to make money as a musician. But what that kind of speaks to here is that in Symphonic, the artist can actually assign you royalties. So you can get a chunk of the royalties from the music video plays. And if it's a great music video and it takes off, then that can be a long-term passive income for you. So if there's not a lot of money for the budget, talk to your artist and see what kind of rights share you want to do on the music video streams, because you can actually get some pretty decent return on investment by, getting 15, 20% of the royalties if things take off into the millions, right? So in Symphonic, there's a place for you to do that. And this kind of segues into my next point, which is, once you do sign up for royalties, and anybody who's ever made music or wants to collect royalties, please listen. There's a form from the IRS called the W-8BEN form. And this form allows you to claim your royalties, the 30% that the American market will withhold from you if you do not sign this form. And this is anybody collecting any royalties for anything. So if you're collecting royalties for anything from the States in any US market, you need to make sure you fill out the W-8BEN form. And you're going to assign it with the exemption 1D. And essentially that's just assigning it with, I'm a Canadian citizen who wants to collect royalties from the music that I've put out in this market. If you don't sign that form, you lose out on 30% of all earnings from US markets. Super important to fill out that form for the producer, anybody who's collecting royalties on the project. Don't miss that, because, and I think Steve and I talked about this a little bit, but we know a couple people who have missed out on substantial amounts of money. They see how much their music has earned, and then they get the check, and it's nowhere close to what they actually earned. And that's because the IRS is withholding that as a withholding tax. The agreement essentially is a Canadian-US treaty, and that treaty allows for you to claim those rights or those royalties without having to pay any fees. And it's a super simple form. It's like 1 page. So just go ahead and do it. You can find it on the IRS website. And then just go to the search bar and type in W-8BEN. All right, we're getting to the end here. So I said we could talk about how you can use cell phones nowadays. Do you know what the Blackmagic app is? Yeah, you haven't? So there's a great app for anybody who wants to use their phone as like a cinematic camera or improve their phone's camera. There's a free app called the Blackmagic Camera app, and it allows you to control. Steve's like, oh, it allows you to control your ISO, your focus, your stabilization, the amount of light that's coming in, the lens you're choosing. It really turns your phone into a functional cinematic camera. So if you're going to do like a phone challenge, or a 48-hour film festival or something like that, the Blackmagic camera app, it's free and it's really great. You can actually shoot in raw formats right on your phone if you have a fairly new phone. Otherwise, it shoots it shoots really great quality video, usually in an H.264 format. Sorry for my tongue tying. But I've used it, and I use it a lot for background and BTS, which is another great thing to do. Make sure you're getting behind the scenes content if you ever go on set, because it ends up helping you with your marketing later on. It's great for producers. I know like myself, I'm so grateful when I have really good behind the scenes content, because it shows people, hi guys. It it shows people that you're active doing what, you're making music videos. It leads to more music videos. So get behind the scenes content, and you could use your phone and get really nice quality stuff. It also stabilizes really nicely. So, you'll usually, if you're using just the camera app on your phone, it's really shaky, even if you're holding it, but with the stabilizer, it's just nice and smooth, right? So I would highly recommend using that. And then the other thing you're going to need, music videos come in all shapes and sizes. Highly recommend a high quality camera, high quality cinema or DSLR camera, so that you can capture effective images. And and I've seen music videos done on like 8mm, which also look really cool, but that's a choice, right? So make sure you're deliberate with the kind of capture device that you have. Make sure that you have enough lighting on set. I know this camera doesn't do great in low light, but it's really beautiful picture. So make sure that you have a lot of light available to you, whether that's powered or daylight, and a lot of light control. So if you're shooting outside, sometimes direct daylight is way too harsh. So you're going to want some flags or some diffusion, like big white sheets in frames that help to block out the sun and soften the light that's hitting you. You're going to want things like camera stabilization, so a gimbal, or sliders or drones. These things make pictures look way more dynamic. And I would highly recommend not just shoot, you can do it where you shoot just one single shot, one type of shot, and move between different locations. And it's kind of cool when the musician's sitting in the same spot on screen, but then there's a small town, and then a mountain scene, and then a city, and then all this, and it's just interchanging between them. That can be really fun. But just make sure you're being deliberate with everything. Some essential crew that you're going to need. You're going to want a director. Maybe that's your cinematographer and your producer, like me sometimes. But you're going to want somebody who's really considering how the actors are going to be behaving on screen, how the picture's coming across, and somebody who's organizing the day. You're going to want a grip and gaffer, somebody who's setting up your lights and managing the tech. Production assistants are very helpful, people who are running back and forth to get you water, to get you different things. And you're going to want somebody dealing with food. You don't want to be dealing with food if you're the director. You want somebody else doing that stuff. We talked about royalties, the BEN form. For any musicians in here who collect royalties, I highly recommend you check out the website Songtrust. Songtrust is a website that tracks all of your plays internationally and makes sure that you're aware of all of the places your music has been released or streamed or on the radio. And it allows you to collect those royalties rather than just having them vanish into thin air. So check out songtrust.com. I think there's a one-time $100 fee for that. But it's really valuable for tracking your music around the world, all kinds of different jurisdictions. And one more point here. So releasing a music video, like I said, it's not just about putting this cool video on YouTube. You want to use an aggregator of some kind that's helping your music get out to all the platforms and saving you time. And again, similar to the studio binder thing, keeping everything consolidated in one place rather than you having 8 different logins to Tidal and all these different places. Just use an aggregator so that you can really streamline your process. Really take time to market things. Like that 5-week window between when you upload your music to the time it releases, you should be building like a plan for every single day, multiple pieces of content, showing trailers, showing behind the scenes clips, showing stills, showing clips of the music. All kinds of different stuff can go into your marketing. But again, your pre-sales are going to really, like, the more pre-sales you get, the better you're going to place in playlists and with curators, and the better your music video and music is going to actually end up doing. I would highly recommend using Google Ads if you're going to release on YouTube. Once your music video is released, build a Google Ads campaign and make sure that you're getting your music out there, which usually means having a compelling first few seconds of your music video that looks good so that you can snag people on that in-feed YouTube ad, and then they're willing to watch and listen. But that'll really increase your views. I know, and some people in here might know Tom McDonald, the rapper Tom McDonald. He's a friend of mine, and we grew up in Vancouver together. And he's killing it now. He's getting millions of views every video. But he still does a little bit of ad spend at the start, usually a couple $100 to push the music video into more eyes. And then that really starts to escalate the momentum, and it just boosts the whole release of your music video. And then all of these aggregators allow you now to get your music on TikTok, get your music on Instagram, on Facebook, all these different things. So make content that uses the music in TikTok and uses the music in Instagram as your backing track for, maybe you're just talking, but your song's playing in the background. Or maybe you're doing like a little clip of your music video and just syncing it up to a portrait version, like a vertical version of your music video with the music on TikTok or on Instagram. And that'll also help people associate your music with your release and just boost because that counts as listens and views too. So it'll help get your music out there more. And that's pretty much it, guys. We've talked about the process. We've gone kind of chronologically through the order of the music video. Again, Steve is going to be sending out all of these resources and materials that I have here. You're going to get the shot list that I have. You're going to get links to all of the different things I talked about today. You're going to get, the actual transcript of this. It's also a blog on my website, but you're going to get a transcript of this whole discussion. So you have it in written form too, and that'll help a lot. And then if you guys need, I have a ton of templates for crew memos, cast memos, scope of work agreements, rights assignments, non-disclosure agreements, all that kind of stuff, which are vital for your production. So reach out to me, come grab a card so that you have my email, and maybe Steve will include that in the release of the materials. And then reach out so that I can send those things to you, because that'll really elevate your music video. And if you ever have any questions about music video, or you know anyone who wants to make a music video with me, have them reach out, because I love making music videos. Cool. All right, I'll let the jam get going here, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Keep it going real loud for Nick Boyle, everybody. Thank you all for being so patient. We're going to get the open mic and that rolling here pretty quick with Gabriel Thane. If you have any questions, you can shoot. I've got business cards here from the Allied Arts Council. You can shoot myself or Nick a message. Anybody who wants all the deliverables, all the kind of stuff that Nick was alluding to, just come and talk to me. I've got business cards. We can send that stuff to you. Also, if you came in later and you're interested in what was going on, the entire talk will be available online through the Allied Arts Council and etc. Once again, thank you so much to Nick for doing this. Give it up one more time for Nick Boyle, everybody. Hatch Hat Productions. A giant thank you to Kelty and the whole crew with Theoretical Brewing. Give it up for Theoretical Brewing. And the killer pizza back there, Visano. Love their pizza. Yeah, stick around. Gabriel Thin's going to get going with the open mic here real soon. Get it. Yeah, you're good. I don't know what happened with the computer audio.
Yeah, I don't know. We had it before.
A little baffled. It was there and then it was. Yeah,